Hello everyone. Today we'll be taking a look at some of the basic tools and go over a couple tips for doing nautical knotwork. First off, of course, you need a good line, and then a roll of tape, helpful to terminate the ends, and also 10 little fingers. That's pretty much covers everything, with the exception of course, something to cut that string with. So you need a good pair of scissors, but that pretty much would cover it. You can do a whole lot with that. Adding to this, I like to use a little pair of tweezers here. Found these at Hobby Lobby. They're good for working with smaller lines. You'll see me in quite a few of the videos. I'll use that quite often. And then let's see. I'll go ahead and just use a small Phillips screwdriver for a Marlinspike that works well for the smaller knots that I tie. And then it's always good to have a little set of netting needles. This one here in particular I use for my small stuff for doing lashings at the end of the line. Next we have a Swedish fid. It comes in handy running line through larger ropes. Opens that strands up. The channel lets you put the working end through fairly easily. And then a wood fid for just opening, separating lines for doing splices and just any time I gotta open up a larger rope. And stylus too goes a long way, working with a rosebud knot with the bud in the center. Rubber end here works well to keep the line, lets the line slide without damaging the line too much or binding up too much. And then I've got a 10mm Swift that I picked up. It's 8 inches long. Comes in handy for certain sennits, such as the sword sennet. And of course super glue. Goes a long way. If you don't want to keep that tape on the end of the line, you can go ahead and dab a little bit in the very end there and let it set up and before you pull that tape off. A recent item that I just did pick up is a little sailor's palm. I haven't used this quite a while, since my Coast Guard days. So I picked this up and really anxious to put it to use. Still have to get some oil on it and get it prepped. But I'm excited to get a hold of that one. And then you want a good pair of cutters just to have handy. You won't use it a lot, but when you need it, you need it. So it's good to have a good set of cutters. And what's a sailing palm without needles? Actually, it's kind of surprised. I found this little Singer set at Walmart. It's not a whole lot of needles to it, but it does have a couple of the basic needles, a little triangle, a curved tip, and it also has a straight in that as well. Here's the straight one here. Needless to say, I will be picking up a larger set. I just haven't taken the time to order any yet. And this set even comes with some of the curved needles. So if you got some odd positions or odd sewings that you need to do, it even comes with a couple of the curved needles. Then I've got a couple lacing needles. These I made. You can get some tubing, either aluminum or brass, at the hobby store. These just cut off to length, and then one end crushed down with some adhesive there, holding them together and formed or shaped. And then I've just recently found this one at Hobby Lobby. It's another little Swift, but it doesn't have the cord on it. On the metaled end, it is threaded, so using small stuff, good for about 1.5 millimeter or smaller. That line will actually thread into it. So. A couple little tips just to go over with to help you out if you're just starting in this or haven't been doing it long. Whenever you tape your line, First off, good masking tape. You want a narrow roll and a larger roll for working with larger line. But you want to usually pull off about an inch, inch and a half. Always try to use your scissors so that you get a nice clean cut. Don't just tear it across. And most people make the mistake that whenever they go to wrap it, they wrap it the way that it comes off the roll, like so. And that's not the right way to do it, because it'll start unrolling on you real quick. What you want to do is go lengthwise on the roll as it came off and roll that across. So like I said, the way it lays on, that's the way you want to lay it on the rope, and just roll it the line around between your fingers and roll that tape down. That gives it a good tight covering on it. And then take a pair of scissors, and when you cut it, don't cut straight across, cut it in a good angle. When you do this, you'll find you usually won't even need a lacing needle. That little bit of tape at that point does a good job, because it's quite often, unless you have quite a few lacing needles, you'll find that they'll fall right off. That's where I like to use a smaller whenever I'm working with a 1.5 or smaller diameter line. Now the way you would use this, or the lacing needle, say you had a knot, you were wanting to add another colored line in, or you wanted to go ahead and follow and add another line just through it, make it larger, fill up some gap or something, and you didn't want to interrupt that or disrupt that knot too much, you just take that, run it through, and that puts that line in place without doing much disruption to the knot. Now, larger stuff that won't fit in this, don't despair if it's still too small for your needle you got. Needles can still be useful. You know, if you try to just use it without it, you either need to build that tape up so it'll slide in and hold, or you can simply just take your lacing needle and run it to where you need it to go, like so. And then take your line and run up inside the barrel of the lacing needle. That's where it helps using this tubing. Pull the lacing needle off, and your line's left in place then. Well, that's pretty much it for today. We'll be doing some more tutorials later on and covering some other aspects and some more knots. So hang in there and be sure and subscribe and like so you got easy access to them. Have a good day.